Welcome to episode 153 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I am Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And we're back this week with some more Static Shock. We got Trouble Squared, the return of everyone's least favorite villains.
Most forgotten story arc that I didn't realize was an arc.
Yeah, I had no idea this was actually a relevant episode. Turns out mostly not, but amusing nonetheless. And then we have Toys in the Hood, an appearance of one of our favorite Superman villains, Toyman. And of course, he brings along with him Superman.
Yes.
So, some fun stuff to get into. And then, of course, we'll do notes from friends and bat plugs per usual. But first, let's get into a little bit of news.
Well,
and,
Chris, if I can interrupt you really quick.
Yes.
Right at the top of this episode, I know we just went over the entire schedule of how this episode's going to go. But I have a fun fact I want to throw out right at the beginning based on our conversation of last week.
Okay.
And I learned about quicksand.
What did you learn about quicksand?
It was part of a show that I was watching. They did like a deep dive into the history of quicksand in cinema. Funny enough, exactly what we were talking about. Did you know in the 60s, quicksand was so popular, 1 in 35 films involved quicksand?
To what point? And what year was that statistic?
Through the decade of the 60s.
Oh my God, really?
Yes. And in real life, there are quicksand enthusiasts with message boards dedicated to finding and experiencing quicksands themselves. And guess what they call themselves?
Quickies?
Sinkers. Yes, and it is not, as movies and TV shows show, it is not the act of sinking into the quicksand that kills you. It is the water rising from the sand that kind of will drown you before you would kind of sink to your death.
Oh, okay. So you'll drown before you asphyxiate?
Yes.
Wow, what a horrible way to die.
Yeah. That I had to share that right at the top because I didn't know where I was going to shoehorn that in anywhere else.
I'm so glad you did. I mean, to be perfectly honest, part of me is tempted to just stop the episode here. I really don't think we can get any better than learning the true impact of quicksand.
Yeah. So there you go. For anyone that was scratching their head after last week of like, I really want to know a little bit more, not much, but like 2 sentences more about the history of quicksand.
I'm totally gonna have to go do a deep dive on sinkers after this.
I mean, we can go join a message board. I'm sure there's some sect in California.
It's some r/sinkers.
Yes,
out there. All right. Well, I mean, clearly nothing else we talked about today is gonna be anywhere near as important as that.
Not at all.
We do have some like actual proper entertainment news this week to get into a little bit. So one is the announcement we're getting a new direct to, I guess we'll call it streaming / digital / DVD animated movie, Batman Soul of the Dragon.
Yes.
So this looks like it's going to be an Elseworlds story, which makes sense considering that the quote unquote New 52 verse movies ended with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, which I actually have yet to watch, but I've heard very good things. So it's on my list. But this movie sounds kind of cool. So the idea is that the martial arts master that trained Bruce many years ago is missing. And so he teams up with other pupils of the same master, including Bronze Tiger, Lady Shiva, and Richard Dragon to discover what happened. And this sounds like a pretty cool idea for a Batman story. It's a little more niche. It's probably going to be set out of Gotham. I'm excited about this. Could be something fun.
Yeah. Do you think this was like the original idea for Iron Fist before Netflix was like, no, we're going to go with our own way, and they just flipped it and sold it to DC instead?
I mean, this does sound much better than Iron Fist, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
But then again, a lot is better than Iron Fist.
Did you actually watch Iron Fist?
I watched the first season. I watched all of the first season, too.
Oh, bless you.
I stopped watching the Netflix Marvel shows after The Defenders, and I never watched either season of The Punisher. And so that means that at this point, I guess I missed out on both seasons of The Punisher, Daredevil Season 3, Jessica Jones Season 2, and Iron Fist Season 2. And then was there a Luke Cage Season 2? I don't think so. So I guess I more or less missed out on half of it, but I was just kind of like, I get it. And these are all running too long.
Yeah, we finished our storyline.
Yeah, and I was just like, nah. And I've heard Daredevil season 3 is actually pretty good, but I've also heard it's on a cliffhanger that will never get resolved, and I hate that. I really, really hate that. So I'm like, I'm just gonna skip it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited for this movie. You know, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Day of the Dragon and no, excuse me, that's the Bruce Lee movie. Day of the Samurai and Night of the Ninja from BTOS, which were okay episodes, maybe good ideas, not great execution. So I don't know, this could be cool.
I mean, I'm a sucker for any kind of kung fu film, except for the one that we watched last week.
Oh, Kung Fu Hustle?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we need to give it a second shot.
I think we do. And if anyone, because we mentioned this when we were watching it, that it felt like we started like 30 minutes into the movie. If anyone has like, because it's a highly well-regarded film.
Yeah.
That we just didn't click with. And if anyone would know why, please tell us. Because I want to like that movie. I love Stephen Chow.
Yeah.
Shaolin Soccer is fantastic.
And I've heard that. I know you mentioned that. I know other people love Shaolin Soccer. So yeah, I guess.
And then there's one where he's a chef that has been on my list for a while.
Okay, I don't know about that one. But yeah, if you guys have seen Kung Fu Hustle and it landed for you, please let us know, because it didn't for us. And I feel like maybe we clearly missed something rather critical.
Yeah.
But actually, kind of along the lines of talking about this Batman movie, you know, I mentioned Richard Dragon as one of the characters, and it sort of like segues into a little bit of sad news, which is that this last week we lost the great comic book writer Denny O'Neil, who was instrumental in revamping DC Comics, but Batman in particular in the 80s. And you know, I kind of looked up some of like the key things that he worked on, but he was you know, instrumental in writing a pretty famous run of like Green Lantern, Green Arrow that actually like you know, went to some like, you know, kind of like political social spaces that other comics hadn't before. But I think he's probably most famous, of course, for creating Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, Richard Dragon, the aforementioned, plus Leslie Tompkins and Azrael.
Oh wow!
He's also like instrumental in revamping the Joker and Two-Face. And you know, he wrote episodes of Batman the Animated Series. I think off the top of my head, I think he's the credited writer on the Demon's Quest, if I recall. I'd have to double check that, but I mean, hugely influential on, you know, I'd say all of modern comics. Like I think you talk about Stan Lee, and I think in the same sentence, Denny O'Neil is someone that's worth mentioning as a hugely influential creator. And I guess he actually started out working for Stan Lee, and did a lot of stuff for Marvel as well. But you know, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Batman would not be Batman today without his influence.
Oh, did he do the Speedy as a drug addict story arc?
Oh, he did. That's right. Yeah. I think he did that one too. He did really, really incredible things. I've actually had for years on my bookshelf a comic that he wrote about writing comic books. It's one of those things like, oh, I should really read that at some point. Clearly I'm going to have to go read it now. So.
Oh, he wrote the Superman versus Ali story.
Oh, he did. That's right.
That's a classic.
Yeah, I mean, he and Neil Adams were like a partnership that like defined DC for, is it the better part of a couple decades.
Mm-hmm.
Really. And you know, I think he's another one of those, like Neil Adams, his styling of Batman is one like you see a picture of Batman, you can tell immediately if it's a Neil Adams. And I think for the most part, if it was a Neil Adams drawing, it meant that it was Denny O'Neil who wrote it. So I don't know, but definitely someone who will be missed. And then you had some DC Universe updates for us, I think, right?
I did. So we have a bit of sad news. I don't know if anyone who has DC Universe actually uses this feature, but they have something called DC Daily, which is kind of a daily talk show where they kind of bring in hosts and guests and kind of talk about the state of the DC Universe. Kind of like what we do, but better and with daily.
And way more professional.
Yeah. With like a real set and editors and on video.
And actual access to like good DC stuff and like real guests.
Yeah, but we can say fuck those guys because they are canceled and we're still here. Yeah, it was a very sad day. They DC announced they are dropping DC Daily, which is scary for me because I feel like this is kind of the beginning of the end for DC Universe. I know there's a lot of shit going on with HBO Max right now. And
my God.
I think what might be going on is the two, as we predicted a while ago, are going to kind of fold into each other in one way or another. For video content, I think that makes sense. But I think what you have found is one of the great things about DC Universe is the comic library.
Yeah, I mean, that comic library is library. I did say library. Library. There's an R in there, folks.
There's
Their
two.
there's actually, yes, you're right, Cameron. There are in fact two R's in library. But like their back catalog, to save me any further embarrassment, is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, I did a month of Marvel Unlimited to catch up on some titles, but DC Universe essentially offers more or less the exact same thing for all kinds of DC books. I mean, I caught up on Grayson. I've been catching up on some Harley Quinn. Like it's really really unparalleled in terms of comic book access, and for considering that you get that along with all of the shows and movies to stream. I mean, I know we keep saying it, but like DC Universe, if this is the sort of stuff you love, legitimately is one of the best streaming platforms out there and well worth the price. And I hate to say it, but I think you're right. I think this is like the beginning of that particular feature getting absorbed and ultimately dissolved.
Mm-hmm. And then connected to that, I just Googled it to double check. We got a great trailer for Doom Patrol Season 2.
Yes, you reminded me of it. I just watched it in prep for this. It looks really fun.
It looks great. I mean, I will stand by. I haven't watched all of Harley Quinn, but I will stand by that. I think Doom Patrol is the best original show from DC Universe so far. Just because it's so weird.
No, I think that's totally fair. Like I think I bias slightly towards Harley Quinn, but I think definitely in terms of their live action output, it's the best. And it's weird, it's fun, it's funny, it's irreverent. It has now one of my all-time favorite comic book characters, of course, Danny, the was it the gender neutral?
Yeah, Danny the Street.
Yeah, Danny the Street, the gender neutral anthropomorphic street. That's just such a weird, delightful, quirky, absurd character.
But attached to the trailer, all the advertising says it's only on. Not only all the advertising connects it to HBO Max.
Yeah,
which is another big hit. I did just Google it. It will also be going up on DC Universe.
Okay. Now a relevant question on that: will it be going up on HBO Max or will it be going up on HBO? Because I'm sure you saw this week that they announced a total rebranding of all their products, and I still don't understand what's going on.
I understand why they're sticking with the HBO name. It's a safe brand. It's on par with, like, I would say Pixar, of just steady good content.
Yeah.
And they have a couple falls that people just don't like to talk about. Good Dino and Cars 2.
There's that. / the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. And so, attaching everything to that name makes sense. But, one flaw is HBO is an adult-friendly channel. And so you're kind of losing the kid market. Like, I haven't seen any advertising for the Elmo show. And I don't think parents would even know that there's kid originals on this app.
Yeah. I don't think most people know now that HBO is funding Sesame Street because it was too expensive for PBS tragically to continue doing it, and so HBO is paying for it, and like that's awesome that they continue to do that.
I mean, with the HBO name, you kind of forget about the entire Warner back catalog, all of the Turner back catalog.
Yeah. It is a little bit bizarre that they wouldn't just even from the beginning they didn't try and brand this as just like something Warner Brothers specific, and it's hard to tell if for the let's call it like the normal consumer, those who aren't as absorbed in the entertainment industry as you or I imagine a lot of our listeners are, that maybe to them HBO carries more brand recognition than Warner Brothers. Like you maybe don't know like what Warner Brothers owns in terms of IP. But I mean, yeah, like I think the strongest thing maybe about HBO Max, because their original content isn't maybe stellar yet, is all that back catalog stuff. And that's all Warner Brothers. None of that's HBO specific.
Right.
But so what we're referring to is that as far as I can tell now, so Ashley Clark, one of our favorite listeners, thank you for writing in and confirm this for me. But basically, if you had an HBO Now account, you now have HBO Max, but I don't think you necessarily have access to the full HBO Max suite. I'm not quite certain on that. But the rebranding that's happening is that the HBO Go app, which used to be the digital app to sign into your like cable-based HBO subscription,
correct,
it's called HBO Go. That is going away. I think that is now going to be called HBO Max, and HBO Max is now going to be referred to as just HBO.
That's dumb. That's fucking dumb.
I think. Look, I read this article, I shit you not, twice yesterday, and then I immediately went to go tell my brother about it to try and explain it to him, and I still am not 100% certain I got that right. So,
yeah.
I think the moral of the story is at the end of the day, just get DC Universe. Just get it until you can.
Make a new acronym, because that doesn't make sense for HBO anymore, because HBO is home box office. It is meant for movies. And now you have all these shows, which are great, but don't fit under the acronym anymore. But I guess you can say the same thing with MTV.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, there's no longer music on MTV, so.
Yeah, they're just, and then there's the whole other fiasco. I don't know how much you've seen into this, but HBO Max is still not on Apple TV or Roku.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a thing too.
And I saw, and this is another thing of kind of people not really understanding how deep the industry is. A lot of people are like blaming AT&T on this, not realizing that AT&T owns all of this.
Yep,
Warner, HBO, Crunchyroll, me,
Turner. They personally own you, Cameron.
Are all owned by AT&T, and so people being like, I can't believe AT&T wouldn't let them do this. I'm like, no, they're owned by them. They wouldn't want to hurt their own franchise.
Somehow they haven't worked out contracts with themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I have a lot of bad conversations with other cousin companies. But yeah, I mean, they really, really dropped the ball on this, and kind of like the more information that comes out, the more you realize like, oh, they were not prepared.
No.
And in this time when it is the ultimate time to you know what? I don't know if it is anymore, because we continue to say that this is the best time to launch a streaming service. We are 0 for 2 in the streaming services that have come out during quarantine.
Hey, but that's because you and I haven't personally yet launched the Charlize Theron streaming platform.
That's right. Yeah.
That is a guaranteed success right there.
It is.
All we have to do is get the exclusive streaming rights to Mad Max Fury Road, and we're good to go.
Yeah, that's all we need. Just one movie.
No problem. So that should be easy enough to do, right?
Yeah.
You and I can work out really complex streaming legal agreements.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Yeah, I've read a contract before. We'll be fine.
So you've wrote or read?
Read. Never written one. Yeah. I did terribly on the LSAT. I could figure this out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we do have Doom Patrol Season 2. It looks great.
It does. It looks
everyone
really
go watch the trailer. It's like Elastigirl's finally learning how to use her powers, and that's because I think she was probably the weakest part of Season 1.
I think she was actually one of my favorite characters. I just think that I don't know if I'd even say she was underutilized. I think where she was utilized really well. I just don't think she got the same amount of like screen time or focus as maybe some of the other characters. But I
don't think she got the character development that everyone else got.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I think when she's on screen, she's usually like one of the best characters because she's so like fun and snarky, and she's great. So I'm hoping there's a little bit more Elastigirl focus because I love her so much.
Same. Oh, and so that for one last little bit of news. Because we love to talk about the movie theater potentially opening again, and I just kind of claw at the glass door that is the Grove Theater. We got some news about more kind of things getting moved around and pushed around. So before, Tenet was supposed to be the grand pillar to reopen theaters for us.
Yes.
It is now being pushed back to the 31st, right? 30th, 31st?
31st, I believe.
Yeah, the last week of July.
Yes.
Which now means Mulan, Disney's Mulan, will be the new grand pillar for theaters opening, which I'm conflicted very much.
Because you're not excited at all about Mulan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm curious. I don't want to say excited. I'm very curious about it. But it's more just like the whole situation. Everything is opening up right now. We got an announcement that Disneyland is opening up on July 17th, which makes sense because that is the 65th anniversary.
Yeah. I'm sure that's an opportunity they don't want to pass up. I have thoughts, but maybe I'll save them.
I was joking that I want to go because I'm sure there's going to be some like exclusive for first day back, and it's going to be like a 65th anniversary face mask.
Exactly. It's going to be you can get an exclusive one day only Mickey Mouse with a face covering.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like that. So staying more on the positive, Mulan is now set for July 24th. At the moment, we'll see if that sticks, because they basically now have a month to get advertising revved up again. So that will be then, and then followed by Tenet the next week. And then Wonder Woman was announced. It is getting pushed back again. It is now October 2nd.
Yep.
And where it stands at the moment, right snap dab in the middle of those two, is New Mutants is still set for August 28th. I'm going to give you a week-by-week update on when New Mutants will be coming out, because I think this is the closest we've come to like a date in front of us.
I think so, yeah. I think this is the most definitive piece of information in regards to its actual release we've gotten in a while. But, you know, like anything else involving New Mutants, it's just a matter of time.
Yes.
Until it changes. I mean, look, I think this is a good idea to kind of push these movies a little bit for a number of reasons. You know, one is I want them to do well. You know, Christopher Nolan is one of the last remaining filmmakers that still gets to put out like, you know, huge blockbuster, big budget original movies. And, you know, we want those to succeed. So it's good to see that getting pushed. So hopefully that means that it, you know, actually gets, you know, a good return to the box office. You know, Wonder Woman movie, very excited for. Probably the most promising movie currently in the DC slate.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a good idea for that to push as well. Again, for the same reason we want that movie to do well. We want people to be able and be comfortable to go see it in a theater, and hopefully by then it will be. So, you know, and maybe this also means that people won't be going to the theater for a little while longer, which is also probably a good thing. I'm sorry to say, Cameron, but it's probably a good thing.
No, it is. And that's why I'm so torn, because I shouldn't go and no one should go.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it's the same thing with Disneyland too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's just kind of decided now that things are reopened, whether they should be or not, and we'll see what comes out of that. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, so kind of taking a slight shift out of entertainment here towards kind of a slightly broader, more important news. No offense to entertainment. You know, listeners will know the last few weeks we've, you know, talked about what's happening in the world right now, because it is really critical, and we're going to do that again one more time here. And if you will allow me a few minutes to talk about some important stuff, I would appreciate it. But, you know, I will remind people, I do keep time codes down the bottom, so if you really want to skip this, I guess you can. But, you know, I specifically want to talk about the news about what's going on in terms of the transgender community right now, something that's, you know, very important to me. I want to start by talking about the importance of allies, actually. That a lot of what we're seeing right now in terms of both Black Lives Matter and also in terms of support for the trans community is about finding allies and how critical that is. And, you know, like the thing that I can equate it to on a personal note, it's like when I think about when I came out, if I didn't have straight allies, I would have had no support. At that time, I had one gay friend from college who continues to be a really good friend. Hi, On. I don't think you listen, but if you do, love you. And, you know, if I didn't have if I didn't have straight people to come out to who were supportive of me, you know, including my friends, including my family, that whole process would have been a lot harder. And at the end of the day, like anytime I see someone straight kind of, you know, help advocate for the queer community, or I get messages saying like happy Pride from one of my straight friends, it means a lot to me. You know, I remember listening to this great podcast, Script Notes, and when I first discovered that one of the hosts of it, the writer John August, was gay, I got excited just because like that's the thing that happens. You get excited whenever you see any sort of reputation somewhere, and anytime I hear, you know, a piece of entertainment, including podcasts, you know, advocate for something important to my heart, I appreciate it, and so I want to make sure that, you know, we are doing that on our part. And for any, you know, in particular trans listeners we have, just know that we love you and we support you and we're here for you. You know, and if you ever want to talk, feel free to reach out to me directly on Instagram or Twitter to do so, especially Instagram. But like allies are incredibly important. So we're here to be allies. And I think for those who kind of get annoyed when more entertainment, lighthearted stuff like this takes a political focus, I just want to point out that I don't see this as being a political thing. I don't think equality and striving for equality is inherently political. I think politics becomes necessary when policy and practice policy exists that limits the equality of others. And we have been kind of tricked into thinking that it's acceptable to have a quote unquote political stance to stand against any sort of equality. And that's a lot of what's happening right now. And so I don't see this conversation as being political. And I hope that maybe changes people's perspective. I think whenever someone says like, "Oh, forgive me for saying something political," or "Oh, I don't want to talk about politics," they're basically saying like, "Oh, forgive me for pointing out like systemic inequality and the fact that it makes you uncomfortable." And we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about these sort of things. So I do want to talk about an edict that came out this week, basically saying that the Department of Health and Human Services is going to essentially significantly hamper the medical rights of the transgender community. So you'll see a lot of articles being like, Trump administration rolls back protections on the trans community. I want to do a little bit of research on this, and I will link the NPR article that I read in the Bat Plug section below. But essentially what it means is that department of the government is narrowing a definition of sexual discrimination to basically mean just discrimination for men or women, just male or female. And it does not protect people from discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. And that definition had been broadened by the Obama administration to specifically protect the LGBT community, in particular, the trans community. So to re-narrow that definition, essentially what that means is that access to critical health services now becomes a much trickier deal. Especially for anyone who's trans. So basically that means that they now can be discriminated against. It means that at this current time when we're literally dealing with a global pandemic, it puts a lot of people at risk beyond what they would normally be at risk for. It means that people who are in the middle of transitioning and the critical medical practice that's necessary for that are now at risk of that transition being compromised. And it's really scary, and it's an absolutely horrible thing to do. And it's worth acknowledging when this was announced. So as of recording, this was announced yesterday, June 12th, right in the middle of Pride Month, also on the anniversary of the Pulse shooting in Orlando. And it's really hard to look at that timing and not read into it. A sort of parallel case that I find is related is at one point, it's subsequently been postponed, but at one point Trump was planning on having a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 19th, aka Juneteenth. And that is critical for two reasons. For those of you who don't know, again, I'll put the links down in the show notes, but I'll do a brief summary here. So Juneteenth celebrates June 19th, 1865, which is essentially when Union forces arrived in Texas to tell all enslaved people they were now free. That was a full 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, which essentially had no real effect on a lot of the slaves down in the South. So essentially, Juneteenth celebrates the true ending of slavery and is a really important part of what's called American history, not just Black history, but American history that's often ignored. And then, of course, people may remember from the very beginning of the new HBO Watchmen series, a great series, that opened with the 1921 Tulsa-race-massacre in Greenwood District in Tulsa, aka the Black Wall Street, which most people consider the single worst incident of racial violence in this country. And so to choose to have a political rally that often has a lot of association with white supremacy and discrimination on that date at that point, it can't help but feel like a deliberate choice. And so if you look at the rollback of transgender medical rights during Pride Month on that anniversary, if you look at this rally happening on that date at that place, I guess at the best you can assume that maybe this was just done by someone who was ignorant, but it's either ignorance or apathy. They knew the critical elements of those date and places and chose to ignore it, or it was a deliberate attack on already disenfranchised and minimized communities. And that's just fucking horrible. And it really upset me, both of those things. And I, again, always advocate for education, which is why I'm bringing this up here. Whatever little platform we have, I think it's important to try and say something where we can to try and, again, be allies for people and know that we're listening and we're learning and trying to help project that knowledge and that love and support out there. So just wanted to share those things. And, thank you for listening to this part of it. We will now get back to the more lighter, fun fare. But, if you want to have someone to talk to about this stuff, if you feel like you don't have people around you can talk to, a genuine statement, please reach out to us on Instagram. We are at TimmTalkPod, or you can reach out to me directly at Lordifer, and I'm here to talk. So anyways,
Yes,
thank you for that.
Beautifully said.
But with that said, should we get into what we're here to talk about, Cameron? Static Shock?
Yes, we're here to talk about quicksand.
We're here to talk about so much quicksand.
So did you know that some animals actually use quicksand as a defense mechanism?
Wait, how the hell does that work?
So octopi...
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I was not expecting the next word out of your mouth to be octopi.
Yep.
But you have my attention.
Octopi, when they're hiding from predators, what they'll do is they'll kind of puff themselves up and push air down into the sand to kind of create temporary quicksand and hide themselves in there in kind of that pocket as a way to hide.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm actually genuinely okay with switching this entire podcast to just talking about quicksand. We may have found our next spinoff. Forget Titans talk.
It's sinking squared.
Yes, I love it. I'm here for it. But yeah, so for Static Shock this week, we're talking the episode Trouble Squared, which is another clear holdover from season 2 that they released during season 3. We're back to the old intro, the old animation style, the old costume, no gear. And this picks up a
no Frida. Don't forget, no Frida.
No, that's true. No Frida.
No Frida in season 2.
This picks up a more or less kind of a abandoned plot thread up to this point.
I would say 2 abandoned plot threads.
That's true, actually. Yeah. So it focuses once again on Edwin Alva, the guy who I would say manufactured the Bang Baby gas that created all the Bang Babies. He had an episode about his son. We made reference to it last week, where the son basically built himself a bubble suit that he would pop and like breathe in the gas and take on powers temporarily. And then it also picks up a thread with a couple villains. It's probably some of the worst ones in the whole series. Specs and Trapper. The only good thing about them is that they're voiced by Michael Rosenbaum and Patton Oswalt.
Yes. Amazing voice cast.
Who do great jobs, and of course, a little near and dear to my heart, these characters are absolutely a reference to Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd from the gayest of all James Bond films, Diamonds Are Forever.
I connect them to the Kids Next Door villains, which are also Play On Your villains.
This is true.
Mr. Wink and Mr. Fib, who are just 2 old guys that live together and never leave their couch.
I love that dynamic has become like a trope almost in its own right. Like that has become something that can be homaged.
Yes, just 2 monotone men.
Yeah. Well, because James Bond has a lot of cultural like roots, and we see references to like Odd Job and Jaws, or kind of like the classic definitions of like villainous henchmen, and Blofeld sort of becomes this trope of what a supervillain looks like. But of all things, Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, who are most of the time actually fairly ineffectual henchmen. It just brings me endless
Bond
joy.
are they from?
Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay. Don't say it like I should know that.
I literally just said it though.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I was still thinking about Kids Next Door.
Fair enough. I know how hard it is to pull you away from thoughts of Kid Next Door.
I know, man. It's so good.
That'll be our 3rd spinoff podcast.
Great. I'm very down for that one.
Yeah, you're gonna start prep work on it already.
Been prepping for 20 years, man.
But so it sees the return of all of these things. But basically the story here is that Dakota High does a career day at Alva Industries. Virgil and Richie see that Specs and Trapper are back working with Alva. And Virgil goes back to investigate and ultimately discovers that he's trying to essentially resurrect his son, who is now encased in stone, basically as an accident caused by his use of the Bang Baby gas. And he's kind of made all hands on deck, including Specs and Trapper, but they're not really pulling their weight. And he gets in their face, and then they decide to, I guess, more or less show him how capable they are by building these absolutely ridiculous tech suits.
And with the worst names.
what is it? It's spectral and
Trapper, not Trapper Keeper. Is it Trapper Keeper?
It's honestly, if they called it Trapper Keeper, it would have been a better name.
Speed Trap and Spectral.
Speed Trap.
And I'm like, these guys are supposed to be geniuses.
They build the most ridiculous suits and most ridiculous powers that are so loosely defined. So I guess Specs, aka Spectral, has like a blast shield that also has built-in like laser emitters, and he can, as he puts it, he has all the colors of the rainbow.
Kind of. I mean, do you watch the most recent season of Young Justice, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the girl.
Halo,
yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense. It is kind of like that, like
but worse in every possible way.
But worse without any sort of like depth or subtext or explanation, because he has just like generic laser beams. So they're concussive, they're electric at times. He has like freeze vision.
Yeah, I mean each color is a different power.
Yeah, it's just sort of like a catch-all of whatever powers he needs to have in the moment. And then Trapper, aka Speed Trap, has two gauntlets. One of which that's right, of Trapper Keeper. One of which speeds things up, and one of which slows them down. An idea that at its core is actually kind of interesting, but not well utilized here at all. So they basically go out to get revenge on Alva, and Static has to like step in to ultimately basically help Alva.
Well, first they go to try and kidnap Static to show how good they are, and then Alva fires them and kind of like buys their lease off of them, from the sounds of it.
Yeah,
so they're stuck on the street. That seems a bit far.
They were living in the warehouse, I guess, like the facility, and now he took it away from them.
Maybe it was like a whole campus thing. Like it's like I don't think Google has like apartments on campus.
Hey, we don't know.
Not that I know of. But yeah, it might be like kind of a glorified college campus situation.
Yeah,
where it's
it's
like the bungalows. That's a better example. It's like the old Hollywood bungalows.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the bar, the bungalow in Santa Monica.
I've never been to Bungalow. I've only heard negative things.
It's a cool bar, but it's just filled with like Santa Monica douchebags.
Yeah, I hear it's like the worst of Pepperdine drives down and the worst of Venice drives up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the combination of like college douchebags and Silicon Beach douchebags in one bar.
Great.
Yeah, go during an off time. That's kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, don't go any other time ever.
Because it's that bar that like everyone hates on, but at the same time, like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to Bungalow.
Yeah.
It's the same with, like,
I hate it there, but it's cool. It's like, it's fun.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I fucking hate it there, but I'm going to drop another $150 and black out.
Yeah. But anyways, that tangent aside.
Yeah.
So these guys, so then they kidnap Alva's son. And so while all this is going on, Mr. Hawkins is dealing with the fact that the community center is basically like running out of money, and so he's worried about that, and then and Virgil's worried about that, and luckily Virgil finds a way to solve both.
By ransoming the ransom.
He basically just like forces Alva to like donate money to the community center, which is good, in exchange for like trying to save his son. Like, I don't know, what do you think about that move of him? I mean, I guess it's manipulation, but like he's taking advantage of the situation, but like for the right cause. I mean,
here's my problem with this is we know he knows Batman.
Oh, fuck, you raise a very good point.
And where the fuck is Bruce, who has his pulse on everything, everywhere, all the time, who's funding the research center already?
Oh, yeah.
Where's Wayne Enterprise coming in?
Because I guess they did meet in season 2, right?
They did, yeah.
Oh, okay. They met in season 2, but it wasn't until season 3
that Bruce Wayne made his appearance in Dakota.
That Static figured out who Bruce Wayne was.
Yes.
And technically, this episode was made in season 2, so I guess I'll give them that.
Okay, but that's fair.
You do have a point that like Bruce should probably pay attention.
Bruce would know.
You would know. I mean, there's something said for the fact that at the end of the day, like anything that's going wrong in the DCAU, some part of it basically just means that Bruce was not paying attention,
right?
Or just chose not to act because
that's more like because he is always paying attention.
Yeah, he spends half his time just sitting in the Batcave, just like flicking through all the various satellites he has pointed around the world, tracking everyone's data.
I watched a video yesterday. Someone built a pretty poor recreation, but as best you could, they built Wayne Manor in Animal Crossing.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It was pretty well. So they had two houses. They built one as Wayne Manor and one as Arkham Asylum. I think they did a pretty good job on Arkham. But the Wayne Manor even had, if you went around and behind the house, it had Thomas and Martha's graves set up behind the house.
That is so delightfully dark.
Yeah.
Was there a bat cave built into the Wayne Manor?
There was, yeah. So they had a bookshelf set up where if you're looking in the house, you can't see the door behind it. So you can like run behind the bookshelf, and there's part of the bat cave there that has the computers and like all the screens set up. And then if you go downstairs into the basement, it's kind of there's like a car bed, which is supposed to be the Batmobile. And they have all the bat suits lining the walls.
Now, I don't know that much about Animal Crossing. Because there are actual animals, but like you play as a human,
Correct.
Right? But there are animals.
Yes.
Is one of the animals a bat?
No.
Oh.
Someone did fan art of like what a bat villager would look like, and they were very cute, and now I want one.
Aw, bats are cute.
Yeah.
They're underappreciated for how cute they can be. I mean, look, some are ugly. Let's be honest.
We'll say like 50%.
Like vampire bats are pretty gross looking.
Yeah.
But like fruit bats,
Oh, that's just
they're like cute little wing puppies.
yeah.
Yeah. That's how we should look at them. My God, that's amazing.
What were we talking about before that? Oh, yeah, Bruce. Yeah, I do think Static making a villain pay for his service is inherently wrong.
See, I don't think so. I like it actually. Like to me, that makes sense that someone in Static's position, like being 14 years old and like being, I'd say like even more aware of like how messed up his city is than a lot of other teenagers his age, given that he's out there like fighting villains, but he also gets to like oftentimes see the tragic backstories of those villains, and he's seen a company like Alva Industries and a guy like Alva has all this power just like totally screw over people. Like the fact that he sees all of that and he actually sees a way to like diminish the power of Alva while simultaneously like helping a righteous cause is great. If anything, like the one thing he does that like hurts him is that it makes Alva look like a good guy.
Yeah, and I think if we saw that conversation, then I'd be more okay with it. It was being like, hey, Alva, like, I'll help you, but I need you to understand that like it's not just your son that's been hurt by this gas. Like all these kids on the street that come through this underfunded community center are dealing with the same shit right now.
Yeah.
And it's not fair of you, who caused this whole problem, to only focus on one guy.
No, that's actually a really good point. I think that would add a lot of...
It's almost like there's parallels to the real life going on right now.
It's almost like this show, 20 years old, was aware of problems that were, well, happening then and are still happening now.
Yeah.
Things haven't changed. But you raise a very good point, though. Like, if there had been a 2-minute long conversation of Static appealing to Alva's humanity and his empathy, because what this episode does show is that he actually cares a lot about his son.
Yeah.
He wants to bring him back. Like, they didn't have a good relationship, but like he clearly feels guilty and he wants to try and save his son. And you're right. If Static had made the effort to point out that he can save more people than just his son, then it would have been like a slightly more noble moment, and would have maybe that lesson would have landed a little bit better for him and for the audience than Static sort of like, I'm not going to say it's not blackmail, but he basically just like,
it's extortion.
Thank you. Yeah. It's essentially it's a noble form of extortion, but
so here's my other idea is they could have played this the Lex Luthor route.
Okay.
Where Static makes the proposal, Alva does it, but in donating to the community center, he sets up cameras where now he gets to kind of look at it from the side.
Oh, okay.
And I know he doesn't know that Virgil is Static, but he's a smart guy. He can kind of make that connection, or that like Static has something to do with the community center, and now he's keeping an eye on that. He's kind of seeing the kids that come in and out. He can kind of use that to his advantage if they're powered.
Oh, okay. I see. Like, have it be a situation where Static tries to appeal to his good sense. To some degree, Alva agrees, but then he realizes that an ulterior motive, that there's something else for him to gain. Either like figuring out who Static is or just like keeping tabs on the various Bang Babies throughout the city.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would have been interesting too. Yeah.
Where you kind of like, you have that shot of like the TV screen or of the news report going on. Then it kind of zooms out and he's doing the very villainous like finger tap,
of course,
at his desk.
Have you ever noticed that the only hero that does that same pose is basically just Batman?
Yep.
Yep.
I also wanted to bring up another injustice that we see in this episode. Not just this episode, but across all the DCAU and across the majority of cinema itself, is how bad security guards look in film.
I have that exact same note.
Do you? Okay.
I have a note. It just says, "Do we ever see guards awake?"
Yeah, like guards are always sleeping on their shift, and I don't think that that's how it is in real life. I would hope not.
I feel like cinema at large is doing a really gross disservice to the security guard industry.
Yeah, they're very poorly treated, and that is not fair. And we need to bring the situation up right now.
I would love if someone has gone through and like made a list of every time we see a sleeping security guard just within the DCAU.
Because I'm trying to think of like, where are positive security guards? And it wasn't Die Hard a security guard?
Wait, John McClane?
Yeah.
The character John McClane in the movie Die Hard?
Yes.
Who at never point goes by the name Die Hard?
Yeah, he does.
No, he's a New York cop.
Okay, right. He's a cop. Okay.
Well, okay, there is an example in the DCAU.
Oh?
In fact, which is in the episode Old Wounds, when we learn about why Dick Grayson left being Robin. And there's that moment when Batman is interrogating I think it's the Joker's henchman in front of his own son, in front of the henchman's son, not Batman's son, obviously.
Oh, right.
And Robin says this is wrong. You need to stop this. And at the end of the episode, we see that henchman was hired by Bruce Wayne personally to be a security guard at Wayne Industries, and Bruce stops by all the time to check in on him and his son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so but that's not a positive security guard, because we don't know if he's sleeping. That is Bruce righting his wrong.
Okay, fine. I tried. I genuinely tried.
Because there was I think there was like a TikTok I saw this week of a guy playing the perspective of a henchman, and he's like on the phone with his wife. He's like, "Yeah, babe, I just got like 2 more crates to unload, then I'm heading home. You know, I got a little bonus day. It's gonna go great." He's like, "Oh wait, what's that sound?" And he's like, Batman jumps out and it breaks both his legs and both his arms.
It's so true. God damn it, it's so true. Yeah, no, they really need to be nice with security guards.
Yeah.
But okay,
we're going to think of one positive security guard. And my first thought is Night at the Museum.
Yeah, that's a good poll.
Yeah, he's a night guard.
Yeah, he's a night guard. He's a nice guy. He saves the museum.
What's his face from Breaking Bad? The old guy.
Mike?
Yes.
Is he a security guard?
He was a security guard.
Okay.
In Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay.
Before he was hired.
Okay, I haven't watched Better Call Saul. So.
Okay, I watched the first season.
Trying to think of other good examples of security guards. I mean, I guess if we want to call this a positive example, Paul Blart Mall Cop?
Yes, we do want to call that a positive example. He's an inspiration to all of us.
I was going to say Observe and Report, which was the Seth Rogen movie that came out like around the same time. But I think that was him like constantly overstepping his bounds and like being problematic, not being a hero. But I never actually saw it, so I don't know. But there we go. We found one. Paul Blart.
Yes. I also want to bring up one line, and I've never wanted to punch a cartoon character so much.
I actually doubt that, but continue.
When he said, easy as 3.14.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that they had to explain that joke.
Yes. You mean pie. Very good, Spectral.
Well, that's the other thing that gets so annoying about these characters is after they adopt their villainous personas, they now refer to themselves as Mr. Spectral and Mr. Speed Trap.
Yeah.
It's like, shut.
Because let's be real with what they are. They are interns. They are glorified interns.
Yes.
Who are trying to prove their worth.
They are power mad, delusional interns.
Yes.
With major narcissistic tendencies. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I think Spectral's powers in particular are really, really dumb. But I think the idea behind speed traps is kind of cool.
Yeah, I think so too.
And like, I mean, what would you have done to make that character and that power a bit more interesting?
Combine it with what's his face from Batman Beyond. Shriek, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, sound. I think anything with waves.
Yeah,
you can kind of work with that.
Well, I mean, you could totally do like cartoon sci-fi logic and science. Be like, oh, well, he manipulates sound waves, and sound ultimately is just the vibration of molecules, and he's like found a way to control the speed of molecules using his sound technology.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a harder sci-fi reasoning behind how it works.
Yeah. That would have been cool. Actually, that would have been really, really cool. Because they were always trying to evolve Shriek's power set a little bit. That would have been an interesting way to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, much better villain than this guy.
Oh my god, Shriek is one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shriek, Ink, and Spellbinder are like the villains of Batman Beyond.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for Stalker too.
Okay. For Craven, Future Craven.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bat Craven. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't particularly like this episode. It didn't help that I was like falling asleep while I was watching it last night.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt dumb. And I think one of the big problems too is that everything about season 3 is a step up from season 2. The animation, the writing, the characters, and to when you have to do that weird like step back of like, this is clearly a season 2 episode that they just kept shelving because it was so dumb, and eventually like, well, we paid for it, so we should go ahead and put it out at some point.
Yeah.
It makes it feel even more like a totally useless filler episode. I was like, this is just dumb.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of if we ever actually get the Alva Jr. storyline resolved.
I don't know. I feel like Alva maybe pops up in the finale, I want to say. But I mean, we will discover it shortly, I suppose, if that storyline ever gets picked up. But I think even if it does, I think we can honestly say that this episode would not be necessary to keep that plot thread going.
Yeah, I agree.
Because nothing changes. He's like, the Junior is still trapped in stone at the end of it. So it's like nothing.
Yeah, and they even say like it's going to take a couple more months to get the computer equipment set back up.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know, it's so dumb. Any other thoughts on this one?
I think that's everything.
All right, cool. Well, then we'll move on to our second episode of the week, which is Toys in the Hood.
Toys in the Hood. Eazy-E is rolling in his grave.
Yes, he probably is. But yeah, we get another cameo episode this week. I was about to say twofer, but it's a threefer actually. Well, actually, hang on. Let's call it a fourfer, because we get not only Superman but also Clark Kent, and we get not only Toyman but also Darcy.
Yes.
The I guess fully sentient robotic girlfriend that he built for himself that tried to escape from him, that was actually a pretty good episode if I recall.
I completely forgot about that episode.
Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't that? Oh, that's the Lana episode. That's right. Because Lana is in that one because Lana does the fashion stuff and Darcy's one of her models.
Correct.
How could you possibly forget about that, being the number one Lana stan that you are?
I am a Lana stan through and through. But that was so long ago now, Chris. That was 2 years ago.
Was it actually 2 years ago?
It feels like it.
My perception of time is so skewed. You're actually probably right. It probably was probably about a year ago. I'd have a look. But I don't know. I liked that character of Darcy, and I think I'm trying to remember where we last left her. Let me see if I can look it up again real quick.
So there was a story arc that they set up that they kind of didn't follow through with. Is Darcy was leaving Toyman with a kind of robot set to look like a new Toyman. She was going to basically build her own boyfriend.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yes. And we kind of got a different version of that because after she's turned quote unquote human, we have this Ken doll looking guy drive through the warehouse to try and save her. Not save her, get as a getaway car.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, yeah, it looked like Darcy died in a plane crash, and then later we see her boarding a train carrying an unknown cargo and left for Metropolis. We assume that maybe Toyman's inside the thing. So you're right. That was kind of the last place we left her.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that was my single favorite moment in this episode, which was when there's randomly a Ken doll driving a Dodge Viper.
Yes.
That crashes through the warehouse and then never reappears again.
Yeah, it's just gone.
It's like, I was genuinely waiting for him to come back around. I think we can refer to that as a Deus Ex Mattel.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think
I'm even mad at myself for that one. That was
when that episode aired. Do you think they did a hard commercial cut right as that came through, and they just played one Mattel commercial and then returned to the show?
Well, I wanted to know what happened with that character. Like, what is he literally just like a more or less like a wind up doll? Like, she basically just like pushed a button and he just like crashed the scene. Like, does he have any sort of like AI intelligence or self-awareness? Like,
just give us like a 2-second shot of the car like crashing into something, and it's still like the smiling, because here's what I want the smiling Ken still holding onto the steering wheel, and then like Rock'em Sock'em Robot style, the head like pops off on a spring and
right?
It's still smiling, just like waving back and forth.
Because at least that would have like given that moment a little bit of context, and then at least then too it would have explained that okay, he's just like a mechanical robot. Like, there's nothing interesting about him.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's totally the implication that this random Ken doll is to Darcy basically what Darcy is to Toyman.
Yes. Because then like Darcy, because I think that would actually be really smart if they had it just be a dummy. Because Darcy's whole thing is she's kind of a seductress and she wants to be independent.
Yeah. Because
so you have what looks like a guy coming to save her, playing on the seductress side, but then it's a fake guy, so it plays on her independent side.
Yeah, because she actually in this episode kind of occupies almost the same amount of villainous space, almost actually more so to some degree than Toyman. Because the idea here is basically that Darcy's been on the run from Toyman. She ends up in Dakota, hiding out as a teacher. And ultimately it's revealed that she was hiding out in Dakota because she was trying to find the perfect person to replace. And she decided that Daisy was that person. So she kidnaps Daisy, and then she ends up
Toyman kidnaps Daisy.
That's her. Toyman kidnaps both of them, and then I guess Darcy convinces Toyman to help her put her own consciousness into basically what is a manufactured clone of Daisy
in a giant easy bake.
In a giant easy bake
clown based easy bake.
That's true. Yes. And so obviously Superman's there to stop Toyman, but he also shows up as Clark Kent to investigate what's going on. And I would have to double check this, but I think this is the last appearance of Clark Kent in the DCAU. Now, I know during Star-Crossed, there's a moment when all of the heroes disguise themselves as civilians, including Superman presumably as his own persona. But I think this is the last time that he's like actually quote unquote playing Clark Kent in the DCAU.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
I think so. Watchtower Database, if we're wrong, which let's be honest.
Here's something that I just thought about with Clark. Mm-hmm. So obviously Superman is this huge figure and everyone in the world recognizes him.
Yeah.
But how good is your disguise when your disguise is also a very popular person in the world?
The fact that Virgil knows who Clark Kent is and can identify him by sight. I
couldn't tell you the look of any writer. Even for film, I probably can tell you the look of most writers.
Yeah.
I still think back to when we were in that Giacchino trivia, and I looked at him like, that's not Giacchino. That can't be him.
And I'm like, yes, it is.
He looks like some post-grad guy from New York.
I mean, Michael Giacchino actually kind of looks like Clark Kent.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But not muscular at all.
Well, no, but like even Clark tries to hide his muscularity.
Yeah, but he still has a wide frame.
Oh, that's true. Okay. But
no, I was shocked. 'Cause I'm like, no, Giacchino is going to be like this. My thought was he was this old.
You were expecting John Williams.
I was expecting John Williams. I expect all composers to be 65 plus, not this guy who looks 29 in a North Face jacket drinking an IPA.
Well, then you would be absolutely shocked if you came across Ludwig Göransson.
Who?
He's the composer of Black Panther. He's also the composer of The Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah. And to my recollection, he kind of just looks like a Silver Lake hipster a little bit.
Great.
But like that seems like I'm damning him with faint praise. If I recall, I think he's actually kind of a handsome dude. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, not my type necessarily, but you know, he's working.
He looks like he would be. I don't know what the lead singer of Hauser looks like, but I assume this is it.
You are. I wonder if that's actually a thing versus Hauser. If I look that up on Google, if there's gonna be a comparison. No, maybe not. But he's just has a little bit more weight in the cheeks. You're not far off though. You're really not. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. This idea of Darcy putting herself into a clone body of a teenager. Because here's what I was trying to figure out, and this is of course me nitpicking the science here, which is always a futile effort. But why pick a teenager? Because the thing about a teenager is still growing, right? So, look, I will at least say that I guess the one advantage of like replacing yourself with a teenager is that, you know, since teenagers like growing and changing and are, you know, kind of hormonal, like you expect like personality swings and mood swings to happen. So all of a sudden, if like Daisy isn't totally acting like herself, you kind of could just play it off as being a teenager. But like she's going to continue to age. So my thought is, does this clone body age?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Because it is organic. When we see Superman do his X-ray vision, it is a human body.
Yeah, because it's kind of odd. Because when they get into the easy bake oven cloning machine, the blank slate clone almost looks just like Clayface. It's just kind of this generic, like vaguely human looking blob. But when they come out, there's of course that the classic, and I'm so glad they did this moment of like, wait, which one's the real Daisy?
Yeah.
And
Superman, of course, that was going to have to be a story arc.
Of course,
don't shoot me. I'm the real one. Shoot her. Static, you know me. I would never do anything wrong. I'm the real one.
In my mind, as I'm replaying this, it's basically just the 1960 Spider-Man gif of just like
it's
just Daisy like in a frozen animated pose, like, no, you're the real Daisy. No, you're the real Daisy. But yeah, Superman like scans her and he says that, you know, it is identical to her at a DNA level. So that's a full human body, right?
Yeah.
But also that body melts.
Well, he inserted nanobites to melt the body.
So they murdered her, right?
They do, yes.
They flat out murder they murder clone Daisy / Darcy. Right?
I'm still stuck on the point of you have a good point of when you reinsert the clone into normal life, you have to deal with the mannerisms and such. And I'm trying to think of like what is the best spot to make that shift happen.
Oh, like what's the best age to like replace a person?
I think I have an answer for you.
Okay.
You go for the sophomore or juniors in college that are on a study abroad trip.
You're absolutely right.
Because when they come back, they're always different. They're always just a little bit more arrogant. Every time, every single one of them.
Every single one of those smug fuckers.
Those smug assholes when they come back from their service trips. Or no, their school trips.
Their study abroad.
And I think that is the point where you insert yourself. Because you can never perfectly be the person you were beforehand.
No. I think you're absolutely right. That is the best time to do it because they're going to come back. You haven't seen like their family, their loved ones haven't seen them for like the better part of 6 months. So they're going to look different. And maybe they put on some maybe put on a little bit of weight because, you know, like the drinking age is 18. So they're like drinking more beer than they would have before. maybe they let their hair go long a little bit. Maybe they're dressing, a little more European. They speak a little bit of French now.
Yeah. Or German.
Or German. Yep, you're right. That's the best possible time to swap out a person.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess families beware. Pay real close attention to your kids when they come back from study abroad.
Yes, they could be clones made by Toyman.
Exactly. They may have been replaced by a fully bioorganic clone of a sentient robot.
That is identical except for their apparently electromagnetic pulse.
Yes. Oh yeah. What is that like? Each person has their own distinct electric aura that Static is able to see, and that's how we were able to like identify one from the other.
Yeah, I don't know how inaccurate that is, but it sounds very inaccurate.
In an episode full of real shoddy science, that might be the most egregious one of all of them.
I will say, I loved Toyman. Besides the giant mechanical monkey.
Oh, you mean the Russian nesting doll clowns?
I love those guys.
I love that too, actually.
I thought that was super interesting. I love the paddle ball that he uses.
Yes.
I think Toyman's gadgets are so fun. And I think that's why I enjoyed this episode. Is like that whole clown sequence was so enjoyable.
The thing is, it was, and I actually agree with you. I think one of the reasons Toyman's a good villain, particularly in the DCAU, is he is way more of a threat than he should be.
Yeah. And we even see that in Justice League.
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, I mean, he's responsible for one of the best arcs in Justice League, and he's actually like a genius level engineer and scientist, and he uses it for the worst possible reasons because he's a totally fucked up broken human. But like, his wind up monkey at the beginning is not the best. But, like, those Russian nesting doll clowns are actually really effective because they aren't affected by Static's electricity powers, right? Because they're made out of like plastic or something,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
like
that's kind of the catch-all for this episode.
Exactly. They're all made out of plastic. Superman can't affect them because if he hits them, they just bounce.
Yeah, they're elastic.
Yeah, which is really genius. And the fact that they just keep launching more of them outside of each other, like, I thought that was a really clever idea because I think that would have felt a little bit too silly in a Superman episode, which tend to be a little more sci-fi focused. Mm-hmm. But it fits tonally perfect in Static.
Yeah, I would love to see Toyman come back in a Static episode.
Yeah.
Especially because like Static gets so many good one-liners out of this.
Oh, he does. He gets the best liners. But it's like I loved the clown. I loved the Kryptonite Army Men.
With the clowns, did you notice they played the Joker's theme song?
I did notice that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess makes sense. Why not? They have it.
Well, for a second, I was thinking, because like you see Superman look over his shoulder. He's like, oh, he's coming. Mm-hmm. And honestly, for a second, I thought Joker was going to appear.
That wouldn't that be a crazy team up, the Joker and Toyman?
Oh, that would be so good.
I feel like...
Think of how good the amusement park would be.
Oh, that amusement park would be so deadly and so over the top. And I feel like Toyman can actually get under the Joker's skin.
Oh, yeah, he would make like toy Jokers.
Yeah.
Oh, no, what he would do is Joker would throw like his chattering, exploding teeth. And then Toyman would throw a better version of it out.
Yes, because he's a better engineer.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, in a weird way, like, Toyman would take things less seriously than the Joker would. Like, I could see the Joker getting mad that, like, he's getting one-upped by Toyman, but that also Toyman's just, like, being, like, really silly at the same time. They have a very similar shtick.
Yeah, I can see Joker, like, getting angry that Toyman's always smiling and just like forgetting that it's a mask.
Yes. Like, wait, that's my thing. It's like, did I gas you? Oh wait, no, you're just a creeper.
Yeah.
Wait, did that ever happen to the DCAU? I don't think so.
Or just in general, just in comics.
Maybe it happened somewhere in the comics, but I don't think they ever teamed up in the cartoons. I know Toyman appears in Justice League Unlimited, and like the Injustice League or whatever, but can't remember if he ever interacted with the Joker at all. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on that because I think that would be absolutely amazing. Maybe we'll have to submit that as a fight on the next superhero showdown on the Weekly Planet.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Trying to think if there's any other parts of this episode I really liked. I thought the Superman theme was really weird that they chose.
The one at the beginning or the end?
I mean, it's the same one, but it's like it's this weird. It just feels like a facsimile of a Superman theme. It's like
Yeah.
in the same way that the Batman theme they use is like kind of the Batman theme, but not. This is like kind of the Superman theme, but terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't love that.
Yeah, it did sound off.
Let's see. No, my major notes were just all about the Ken doll. I want to know so much more about that Ken doll.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have one other thought on this episode though, which was this like plays up the teased romance between Daisy and Static. I'd say the most of any episode we've seen so far.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because they're flying away at the end, and Daisy's got her arms wrapped around Static, and he makes a comment how cool it was to get to hang out with his favorite superhero. She kind of like looks at him knowingly, is like, "Oh, I know what you mean."
Yeah, I was waiting for like the kiss on the cheek moment.
Yeah, I was waiting for this to go somewhere, and maybe it does. And if you remember, don't tell me, because we'll let it be a surprise.
Maybe back to the Hawkins place.
Nah, because Virgil doesn't get it. He's too clueless.
That's true, yeah.
Which actually makes him kind of endearing.
Yeah, because it's not even like a will they, won't they situation. It's kind of they're both into each other and just both are too oblivious to see it.
Which, like, if that's so teenager, though, which
it
kind of makes it perfect. Yeah. And there's even, like, there's a little bit of that implied, like, oh, Daisy's into Static, but Virgil's into Daisy sort of thing. That's sort of like love triangle with yourself. But it's not ever really, like...
It's nowhere near as much
up.
as, like, the Clark, Superman, Lois.
Yeah. And the thing I love the most about the Clark, Superman, Lois thing is when Bruce shows up and just, like...
Just,
nope.
Yeah, fucks it all up.
You just can't compete with that.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's like, hey, guess what? She loves both parts of me.
Yes. But I mean, this was actually, it was pretty fun. I forgot how much I loved Toyman as a character. I was really excited to see him come back.
Yeah, I want to like read more of his stories now because like he seems like Joker is just kind of like evil gadgets, but these are like toys that are now evil. Like I think that's such a cool shtick.
I don't really know much about his comic persona. I feel like it might be a little bit different than the one we see in the cartoon. Because I think in the comics usually he's just like this sort of like goofy looking, long haired, schlubby dude.
Yeah, I mean he looks like a kind of a mix between Riddler and Mad Hatter.
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, I think the comic version reminds me a lot of the villain from Beware the Grey Ghost.
Yes, yeah.
That'd be like, I think like the closest approximation I can think of outside my head.
There's been a couple Toymans.
Yeah, there's been a few iterations of him, but I mean, obviously, soft spot for the one from the DCU because.
Because he's like his look is just so good.
It is. It's so creepy and it's so effective. Like the fact that he, again, it speaks the same quality as like the Joker. Like he can appear in a Static Shock episode and just be as creepy and effective because like visually he's not scary, but he's actually really, really scary and creepy.
Hold on, Chris.
What?
There's a Bizarro Toyman.
What?
Yeah, from 2007.
Is he Mantoy?
Let's see.
If
When
he's not,
Bizarro
that's such a
3
waste.
found himself infused with radiation from the blue sun, he developed the ability to replicate himself as well as create other Bizarro life forms upon the likeness of people from Earth. He used this power to populate the cube-shaped planetoid dubbed Bizarro World with the blue sun star system. One that he do. Okay, I guess he doesn't have like an arc or anything. He just recreates Toyman in his Fortress un Bizarro, along with several other known foes.
Love it. Oh, bring back more Toyman. Awesome. Any other thoughts on this guy?
No. Let's keep this thing rolling.
All right. So let's dive into some notes from friends here. So just a couple quick little shout outs here. Ashley Clark wrote in to say that off our question last week about what prop will we steal from any movie, she says that she would steal Errol Flynn's Robin Hood hat.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
I really like that one actually. I thought that was a really good shout. To her point though was she doesn't want to meet him. Pretty sure he'd be a dick and wouldn't want to ruin it for me. Just want to grab the hat and run. And I'm like, you know what? That's a solid call. No need to talk with Errol Flynn. And then the Overoid on Twitter, who we gave a shout out to last week, he said that he would take the gun that killed Bruce Lee.
Oh, Oh, that's good.
Yeah. No, I don't. He didn't specify. I don't know if the intent was to take the gun before it had a chance to kill him, or just like to take it as like a piece of history. I think either way, it's an interesting shout. Also, just to let you know, Cameron, he said that he too would beat up a 7-year-old for a Green Lantern ring.
Yeah. Can I go into the extended version that I texted you the other day?
Yes. Can you please? You texted me the full background story of.
So I was mixing up 2 Warner Brothers panels. The Wolfman was the year prior. What happened at this WB panel was kind of like three shots to the face, because it was like the biggest panel for me. This 2010's WB panel was Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1, Scott Pilgrim, and Green Lantern.
Oh, that's
like
a good
3
lineup.
of my favorite franchises.
Great lineup.
So through no fault of their own, it was very unfortunate timing. Comic-Con that Saturday landed on Daniel Radcliffe's 21st birthday.
Oh, epic.
And so no one in the cast showed up. None of the directors showed up. The only person that was there was Tom Felton. Draco was there for 5 minutes. Didn't say anything about the film. They just talked about Daniel Radcliffe for 5 minutes. I think we got maybe a teaser, but then he left because he had a private jet waiting for him to fly to the party.
Yes,
but I think it was in New York.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I was kind of bummed we didn't get to see that cast. And then Scott Pilgrim came out right after, which was a great panel. It was kind of the first time I was like super, super into a big panel like that. And it was back when they would still clear out the room and bring the new group in, which is important because when they would do that, they would usually hide gifts under the chairs when they did the full clear out. And that time that during the clear out, they hid tickets to a Scott Pilgrim premiere that was happening that night. And I didn't get a ticket. And I was very bummed. So I was already 0 for 2. And then this little punk kid comes up and asks for that ring.
That little bastard.
That little piece of shit.
How dare he?
I hope he lost it.
I bet you he got a ticket to Scott Pilgrim too, Cameron.
I fucking bet he did.
You know what I also bet? I bet you he like happened to run into Daniel Radcliffe that morning. Got a chance to talk to them before he flew off to New York to go to his party.
Oh, yeah, they had like a full photo shoot together.
Yeah, that little 7-year-old got to live all of your dreams without you.
Yeah, and like I understand that everyone has their Comic-Con. Like my Comic-Con was the year later when like everything that went right. Yeah. I guess it was 2 years later. It was 2012. But yeah, I was so angry.
I'm so sorry, Cameron.
You should be.
I know it'll take years and years of therapy for you to get over that traumatic Comic-Con experience.
Yeah, me not getting everything that I wanted.
Not getting everything you wanted. Not getting all of your unreasonable demands. All right, but we also got an email from Benjamin David, of course, of the Above and Batman Beyond podcast. Always great to hear from him. He said, awesome new app, guys. Got me through a major quarantine clean of the apartment. Benjamin, always happy to help with some cleaning. I too am a big fan of therapeutic cleaning. And he said, first of all, super weird that Cameron talked about Dick Tracy and how he saw it for the first time this week. Same here. I know we all got HBO Max at the same time, but still thought it was a funny coincidence and totally agreed. I understand why it's divisive. I like how shamelessly comic and colorful it is production-wise and love the use of miniatures for cityscapes. But yeah, the story, bad. Still haven't finished it, in fact.
I mean, you don't really have to. It only gets weirder.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to watch this at some point.
You should. I think it is worth a watch because I think I said it last week. It kind of puts the seeds in, I feel like, for the speed racers and the Scott Pilgrims. He's like oversaturated.
Yeah.
What I would call masterpieces, but you know, that's just me.
Sure, just you. But Benjamin went on to say, you guys talked about Batman on Elmo's HBO Max show. And he's on his own HBO Max rabbit hole of Looney Tunes, and he watched 2003's Looney Tunes Back in Action, a movie that I vaguely recall from when it came out. And he asked, what do we think about the Inside Hollywood appearance of the live-action Batman and Daffy stealing the Batmobile? A clip that you and I just rewatched, actually, because I forgot that it happened.
So did I. It's very cute.
It's kind of a fun moment. Yeah, it's like... So Brendan Fraser plays a security guard on the Warner lot who's trying to hunt down Daffy. I can't remember why. But he basically like interrupts the middle of a big stunt.
I think he got fired.
I think did Daffy get fired? I honestly don't remember. Maybe got overlooked for being on a movie or something. But Brendan Fraser interrupts a stunt sequence in the middle of the new Batman movie, and it's kind of fun because they have just some random stunt guy dressed up in the Joel Schumacher suit, which is pretty good. And then Daffy tries to escape in the Batmobile, and Brendan Fraser goes to stop him, but he doesn't realize that Daffy's turned on the Batmobile, and so it races off down the lot, smashes through the support structure for the water tower, which then comes crashing down.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. I love that scene, actually, going back and rewatching it. It's so inside baseball, and that's probably part of the reason I loved it.
I like early 2000s was like the peak of in like behind the scenes movies. What I would call the peak is Big Fat Liar.
Yeah, I was about to say it was clearly you're referring to Big Fat Liar.
I saw it for my second grade birthday. I loved Big Fat Liar.
Which only continues to exist in some capacity in the zeitgeist because there's that one section of the Universal Studio Tour.
I know, they still talk about it.
Where they flood the set.
I love it. I would love for that to be like I would love a new kind of behind the scenes movie like that.
I don't know if you can get away with it now. I think
with like too many rights with everything.
Well, one, yeah, getting access to rights is tough in the same way we talked about how you can really never make Who Framed Roger Rabbit again. The closest we got was Ready Player One, and even then it was primarily Warner Brothers properties they're able to get in there.
Yeah.
I'd say, but beyond that, it's just that the reality of the entertainment industry has been revealed, and like the kind of ugly truth within it is now widely known. And I feel like you would have a hard time doing a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek look inside the entertainment industry because it would just feel super tone deaf given everything with Me Too and with Pay Up Hollywood. And now also in turn with Black Lives Matter, like the entertainment industry is as guilty, if not more so, than a lot of others for perpetuating a lot of those problems. I feel like now it'd be like real hard to do that.
That's very true.
Yeah. But if they were to do it, they should totally bring back Frankie Muniz.
I was going to say, like, I feel like you can address some of those things if you do another Big Fat Liar. If you just like keep it young. Because I mean, even Big Fat Liar, that is kind of its own version of Pay Up Hollywood, where this big film exec steals a script from a kid.
Sure. That's the same as subtle systemic abuse of underpaid assistants.
Oh, I was thinking that was the writers thing.
No, there's that's true. There's also the writers ongoing writers strike.
I thought Pay Up Hollywood is the writers thing.
No, Pay Up Hollywood's all about the fact that all the assistants aren't paid anything and are like emotionally and physically abused.
Okay, yeah, that one would be a little harder to bring up in a kids movie.
Might be a little bit challenging. Yeah.
You make a kids version of The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, God.
Combined with Big Fat Liar.
Oh, God. Let's steer ourselves away from this bit.
Yeah.
Before it becomes even more problematic. Okay, but I have a note from a friend specifically for you, Cameron.
Oh.
Specifically for you. And so I owe Maddie an apology because he actually wrote to us a couple weeks ago and I forgot to bring it up. But he wrote in to talk about Scoob.
Oh, okay.
And there was a part of me that was hesitant to bring it up again.
Yep, just gonna get my breathing in.
Because it had to do with Scoob. But he said he thought the film was mostly fine, but that felt like they were trying to cram stuff in and too much was happening without any room to breathe. Very similar to what we were kind of referring to. He said, my biggest fixes, I think, would be to kick Will Forte to the curb because his voice was way too distracting as Shaggy, and that's not a good sign when one of the two main characters of your film keeps taking you out of it. I think it's totally fair. But he actually really wanted to really focus on Blue Falcon a lot more. He said over the course of the film, we never actually saw the real Blue Falcon, and that's a huge disappointment.
Yeah, I was expecting him to I wanted him to be the Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, because, to Maddie's point, to your point, it's like we get a lot of exposition about that character's lore and the father-son relationship, but we never actually see them together. And he would have rather have seen a Son of Blue Falcon film. It would have given the movie more room to breathe and open up more room for an actual Scoob film. He says, hell, maybe even Dick Dastardly's plot could have been started in the Son of Blue Falcon film as well. And then in Scoob, we learned that Brian is working one of his father's last cases, and the Mystery Inc. gang gets involved. I think that's totally fair. I think that would have been an interesting way to handle this. Because I liked the Blue Falcon stuff in there. It just felt crammed in with everything else.
Yeah, and I think like even if you made Blue Falcon's dad like an asshole, and you have kind of reason to cheer for Brian, and you understand like why he is, like why he's always like doing the photo shoots and always on his phone. It's like, oh, his dad didn't love him.
Yeah, his dad wasn't there for him. Like,
yeah, he's just trying to get acceptance somewhere.
Yeah. No, I think that would have been interesting. And Maddie went on to say that in regards to the question of how you would kickstart your own Hanna-Barbera universe, that he would do it with the Time Squad, aged up a little bit and dealing with weird temporal displacement shenanigans when they're running through different versions of Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network shows. That
are we talking like Cartoon Network's 2003 Time Squad?
I think so. I don't really know anything about the Time Squad.
Then yes, absolutely. Time Squad is so underrated.
Yeah, no, I mean, and like the idea he lays out here is basically that like the characters would blip through different forms of themselves, like the different Scooby-Doo models, Blue Falcon on Dexter and Johnny Bravo, etc. And the Time Squad gang comes to realize that they've goofed up the time stream so much that the only way to fix it is to stop themselves from ever becoming Time Squad members.
Ooh.
Yeah, he says they do that, everything goes back to normal, but now the Hanna-Barbera superheroes are part of the Justice Friends from Dexter's Lab, and the main focus is put on that team.
I mean, I would love for Justice Friends to have their own.
The Justice Friends
story.
are amazing. Yeah. And he says that we'd see
Major Glory.
Good old Major Glory. And Kronk.
Holla.
He
the
says,
incredible Kronk.
He says we'd see them in roles that they played before, but in their secret identities. Like, so Space Ghost is still a talk show host, Birdman is still a lawyer, and other non-superhero Hanna-Barbera characters get brought into the mix through appearances and that kind of stuff. That honestly sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, like Maddie, sorry, it took you so long to get to your notes, but two, you're absolutely right. Like, I think that would be like an amazing, super clever way to expand the Hanna-Barbera universe, and also like to play play homage to all the different versions. Like, there have been so many different versions of Scooby-Doo. Hell, Cameron, it would give them a chance, if they really wanted to bring back the live action cast.
My mind didn't go there first. My mind went with it was going to give them a chance to bring back the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh my God, that's right. Of course. The Harlem Globetrotters are a huge part of the Hanna-Barbera Scooby-Doo universe.
They are. They are the most cameoed.
Oh, those are fun episodes.
They're
my
great.
God. So good.
Great music too.
Yes. But no, Maddie, you're right. I want to see that version of that movie. I think that'd be a super, super fun version. But no, I mean, thanks everyone for writing in. We always appreciate it. All right, so let's get on to our final segment here, Bat Plugs. Cameron, what have you been plugging this week?
I've got two plugs. One, I'm going to pitch this one to you because I think I found an anime I can get you to watch.
Oh, all right. Challenge accepted.
I'm going to sell it twice because I know the first one isn't going to work for you, but the second one might. Mm-hmm. It's a show called Initial D.
Okay. I can see why from the title alone you think I might be interested.
Yeah, not that.
Okay. I'm now automatically less interested, but continue.
Initial D is an anime that's been going on since 1998.
Okay.
And it is, this is my pitch that will probably not get you into it. It is anime Tokyo Drift.
I'm going to be honest. What part of this do you think is going to make me interested? It started in the 90s, so it probably has a shitload of episodes I have to catch up on.
It doesn't, though. It's only 4 seasons.
Okay. How many episodes?
I think it's like 20 episodes per season.
Okay, maybe. But it's Tokyo Drift. You know how much I don't like the Fast and the Furious franchise. I've never seen Tokyo Drift.
You've never seen Tokyo Drift? Oh my god.
Why would I?
Because it's the best one.
That is categorically not true.
Here's where I think I can sell you on it. 90% of the episode is car porn.
Yeah, but what kind of car porn?
Like showing off it. They're all based on real cars, and it's all
what kind of cars?
The main one is called a something 86. Hold on.
Are you sure it wasn't just made in 1986?
Yes, I know it's not that because they refer to it as an 86. A Toyota Sprinter Terreno AE86.
Don't care.
You don't care?
I love cars. I tend to be more of like the like classic European sport cars tends to be like the stuff that I find.
Yeah, these are all Japanese cars.
Like, so I do appreciate car culture. Like, what make the cars that get me excited are like weird and interesting and unexpected cars. Like,
and that's what all these are.
Yeah, but like I've never really been super into the like the race mod part of.
Okay,
like,
well, that's
like,
what the show is about. It's
like what's it called? The initial D. Let me just look at like some photos and see if anything like strikes me. But like, yeah, I don't really care about like race modding. Like, I can appreciate the like the engineering that goes into it. Like, you can get some really crazy. Yeah, I don't care about any of these cars. You can get some really crazy, like, powerful cars. You know, like really total like off the street innocuous cars that you can do some really crazy impressive shit to. But like that, to me, isn't super interesting. You know, it's like I like when I see like, you know, a totally random olds car like driving down the street. Like, oh, I don't expect to see that driving through like Beverly Hills. Like, you expect Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls Royces and stuff, but like someone drives through like an old Jeep Wagoneer and you're like, huh,
what's their
I
story?
wouldn't expected that. Cool, I'm here for this.
Okay, that's fine.
So I can appreciate your attempts, Cameron, but sorry.
Yeah. It is cool because it's like a part of, like, it's kind of a sport that I would call it that I had know nothing about, and it's kind of like this underground drifting racing world.
Okay.
It's cool, and the soundtrack is fucking unbelievably good.
Oh yeah.
All the music is. I don't think this is for you. All the music
probably
is
not.
like 1980s Europop or Eurodance.
Okay, I mean, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, and like when they turn, because it ignites with the engine as like the music starts going when they start their race, and you just like your whole body gets in this euphoric moment of like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Okay, the one thing that might get me is, you know how much I love a really, really fantastically choreographed visual music pairing in a TV show and movie.
I'll find a clip and I'll send you a clip.
Okay, send me a clip and I'll check it out and I'll see if it's worth it. So
I watched that, and then the other thing I want to plug, which I just plowed through last night, was the show Uploaded.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's Upload on Amazon. It's the new Prime show. And I mainly watched it just because it's Robbie Amell is finally getting his own show.
Oh, Robbie Amell. God.
And he's great. The show is surprisingly good. I didn't have any kind of expectation for it.
Okay.
But it's this kind of offbeat comedy in a similar vein to Good Place, with like a twist of the movie Her, where Robbie Amell is in a tragic accident and dies, and his conscience is uploaded into kind of like an eternal retirement center called Lakeview.
Okay.
And it's him trying to kind of adjust to this afterlife. But since it's in a computer, he still has contact with the living world. So he can still like call up his girlfriend, and he has something called an angel, which is kind of tech support that kind of helps him adjust to this new life.
I mean, that sounds like a pretty clever concept.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. And I say it's similar to Good Place, but it has a bit more of like a mystery and romance twist to it.
Okay. Like maybe it's less focused on the philosophy, which ultimately at the end of the day, like that's what Good Place was about.
Yeah, there was almost no kind of philosophy talk in this.
Oh, okay. They're not getting into like the deep perspectives of Kant on that show?
Right.
Okay, got it.
But it's a pretty good show. Like I said, I watched all 10 episodes in one sitting last night.
Oh, damn. Are they half hours?
Yeah, half hour.
Okay, all right. That's doable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not even had 23 minutes.
Okay. Oh, that helps a lot too.
Yeah. So it was 3 hours?
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah. But yeah, I recommend it. It's season 1 ends with a good kind of lead in for a season 2.
Okay, I do like a good lead in. All right, I will actually check that one out. Probably not the initial date.
That one I do like recommend people should check out, because I think that is like genuinely a good. And I don't ever pitch Prime shows. I almost never.
That's
watch
true,
Prime
actually.
shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you? What have you been watching, reading, listening?
I watched this last week, a video on YouTube that was sent to me by our friend and former guest, CJ. and it was called The Heritage of Slavery from 1968. And it's a very interesting short, like little mini doc, like the sort of thing you probably would have watched like in a classroom in like middle school, high school sort of thing. It's about an hour long, but it's basically this black reporter goes down to Charlotte to interview descendants of the plantations down there. It's kind of a dive into even in the 1960s, the holdover of like the plantation wealth and that sort of like societal structure. And within 3 minutes of watching it, I was going, oh sweet fuck, these people are insane. Just it really kind of dives into like how the like blatant bigotry of like the Civil War and that time eventually just shaped into this sort of like passive like bigotry that was almost in like the guise of like this sort of total ignorant like affection. I mean, it'll chart the stories of like, this little girl who grew up and, surrounded by like essentially like, I think at that point it would have been like the descendants of former slaves, but it's basically like, he's like, oh yeah, like they were like my friends. They lived in this like tiny little shack on the house, like on the property and stuff. And it's absolutely horrifying. But you're watching it and you're realizing that like, oh my God, this was made in 1968. And so much of what they're discussing and so much of like the underlying societal and racial tension that existed then, like it exists now. Like if you were to recreate this thing shot for shot today, you wouldn't know it was any different. And it sort of points out how sad it is that, 50 years plus on from then, it's still the same issues that are going on. But no, it's really good. It's very enlightening and absolute credit to the reporter who was able to like keep a straight face and maintain his composure while getting these absolutely insane answers for some of these folks who thought they were being polite, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty nuts, but that's really good. And then also I watched the first episode of an Instagram series from Emmanuel Akko on Instagram, and it's Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man, and he basically just like sits down in front of a camera and walks through kind of like important questions like why are people like protesting and rioting, and why can Black people use the N-word and not white people, and just like seemingly basic questions, but he really gets into like a really emotionally resonant core that answers a lot of these things. And kind of what we've been kind of saying along the lines here, education and awareness is a huge part of all of this, and highly recommend both of them, especially that Instagram series from Emmanuel Akko. It's like 10 minutes and there's a few more of them I'm going to go watch after this, but yeah, well worth your time to go check out. So
nice. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people talking about the Uncomfortable Conversation short. Yeah,
a work colleague of mine actually kind of sent it out to the company, and then I watched it, and a lot of other people watched it, and yeah, it's a really great series. So go check that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it for me. So all right, shall we land this bird?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. And always love to hear people's answers to the kind of the fun questions, like what prop would you steal from a movie and stuff like that. But I was very sincere earlier when a genuine call out to it. If there's anyone out there who is really feeling frustrated and alone and just needs someone to talk to, by all means, please reach out to our podcast channel or myself at Lordifer on Instagram to talk. So.
Nice. You can find me at Cameron.Dexter. Also open to talk, and you can also find me at CamDexter_adventures. But Chris would probably be a better person to talk to.
I'm not going to say I'm a better person. I think, weirdly enough, I think I have more free time now in my hands than you do. But it's also part of it, too.
That's a little bit, yeah. I'm here for any Scoob concerns, Hanna-Barbera, theorizing.
In any thoughts you have on Scooby-Doo, on Hanna-Barbera, on Kids Next Door?
I did also watch Josie and the Pussycats for the first time this week.
With the cartoon or the movie?
The live action, the movie.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll have to do like a deep dive plug on that next time. But no, thanks everyone for listening. Always appreciate it. And we'll be back next week with some more Static Shock closing in on the end of season 3 here very, very soon.
Yeah. Oh, next week is a great. Oh God, next week's gonna hurt.
What are the episodes next week?
We have The Parent Trap and Flashback.
Oh, okay. So Flashback is the one where he goes back to see his mom.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, everyone prepared for some more heavy.
A couple more heavy topics.
A couple more heavy topics. But no, I that is, from what I recall, one of the best episodes of the series. Very excited to talk about that one. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Superhero Static Shock.
Whoop whoop.
Superhero Static Shock.